Today, we're diving deep into something I know, well, pretty much all of us grapple with at some point. Procrastination. And look, it's more than just, being lazy or putting things off. It's actually quite a complex dance with our minds, our feelings, and how we even look at the tasks ahead of us.
That's right. It's complex.
Our goal today really is to unpack why we fall into that procrastination trap, and maybe more importantly, to give you some solid, actionable ways to break free and actually start achieving what you set out to do.
Yeah, we want to explore some practical techniques, but also look at those key mindset shifts, the ones that can really lead to lasting change.
Okay, so let's get right into it then. Why do we actually find ourselves delaying those things we know deep down we probably should be tackling?
It's fascinating, really. Procrastination often acts as, an emotional coping mechanism.
A coping mechanism? How so?
Well, when a task feels maybe overwhelming or a bit tedious, or maybe the outcome feels uncertain, our instinct can be to just sidestep that immediate discomfort.
Right. Avoid the bad feeling.
Exactly. Think about it. Scrolling through social media gives you that little dopamine hit right now, doesn't it? It feels kind of like a reward.
Yeah, much easier than wrestling with that challenging report.
Precisely. And that short-term mood boost, it feels good now, but it can seriously derail our longer-term goals and ambitions.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
It's like our brain is almost wired for that instant gratification, isn't it?
It really is, in many ways.
So what are some of the main psychological triggers, the red flags that signal, procrastination kicking in?
Well, there are several key factors often at play. A really big one is the fear of failure, that nagging worry about not measuring up,
Oh yeah, the what if I mess up feeling.
Definitely. Then you've got perfectionism. This is where the desire for everything to be absolutely flawless from the word go actually stops us from even starting.
Because the bar feels impossibly high.
Right. Sometimes, though, it's simpler, just the lack of clarity. You genuinely don't even know where to take the first step. Low motivation is another one, especially if there aren't any obvious, immediate rewards in sight for doing the task. And finally, just that feeling of being completely swamped, paralyzed almost, by the sheer size or scope of a task. It just freezes you.
You mentioned perfectionism earlier, and that really strikes a chord. I can easily see how someone who's really driven, wants to do excellent work, could get completely stuck there.
Absolutely. Individuals with that strong achievement drive can be particularly susceptible to perfectionism, or even just that underlying anxiety of, am I going to live up to my potential?
Right.
So for them, just becoming aware of these tendencies, that self-awareness, is a huge first step.
Can you maybe give us a couple of real-life examples? Just paint a picture of how this actually plays out for people.
Sure. Let's think about, say, Sarah. She's a talented graphic designer, wants to go freelance. She's got the skills, definitely.
Okay.
But she keeps putting off building her online portfolio. The whole idea just feels enormous in her head.
Yeah.
And she worries, will my work stand out? Is it original enough?
That fear again.
Right. So instead of actually working on the portfolio pieces, she might spend hours, say, tweaking her website's color scheme, or watching endless design tutorials online.
The preparation trap. It feels productive, but it's not the main thing.
Exactly. It's classic avoidance, busying herself with less critical stuff to avoid the core task.
I recognize that pattern. What's another common scenario?
Okay, think about James. He's a college student. He always puts off studying for exams until the very last minute. The classic all-nighter.
Claims he works best under pressure.
He might tell himself that, yeah. But honestly, studying feels tedious to him, maybe a bit boring, and deep down he's probably pretty nervous about getting poor grades, that fear of failure again. So both Sarah and James, they illustrate how procrastination, often fueled by that discomfort or fear, really gets in the way of making progress in everyday life.
So it really isn't just about the time you waste, is it? What's the true cost of constantly delaying things?
Oh, the consequences go way beyond just lost hours. It's much deeper than that. Procrastination genuinely chips away at our self-belief. It erodes our confidence. It also significantly ramps up our stress levels.
Right, that last-minute panic isn't exactly fun.
Not at all. And it can create this really negative cycle. Each time we delay, it unfortunately reinforces that damaging thought, that little voice saying, see, I can't do it.
Which makes it even harder the next time.
Exactly. It makes starting even harder down the line. And over time, this pattern, it can lead to genuinely missed opportunities, both professional and personal. It can strain relationships. And ultimately, it can lead to unfulfilled dreams and aspirations.
Wow.
Recognizing those serious long-term effects, that can actually be a really powerful motivator for wanting to change.
Okay, so we've got a clearer picture of the why and, frankly, the pretty serious consequences. Now, what's the first step in actually shifting this? How do we start moving towards taking action instead of avoiding it?
Well, the absolute bedrock, the foundation for overcoming procrastination, lies in cultivating a growth-oriented mindset.
A growth mindset. Okay.
Yeah, by deliberately adjusting how we perceive things, tasks, time, even our own capabilities, we can start to transform that ingrained habit of avoidance into more purposeful engagement.
That sounds like a really positive way to frame it. Can you maybe expand on reframing tasks? How can we actually start to see them differently?
Well, what's essential here is to stop seeing tasks as just like these isolated burdens that are totally detached from what we really want.
Right, not just another annoying thing on the to-do list.
Exactly. Instead, try to actively re-envision them as, well, vital steps. Steps that will guide you towards your bigger goals, your larger vision.
Okay.
Think back to Sarah, our graphic designer. Her portfolio. It shouldn't feel like just a tedious chore. It's actually a crucial showcase of her talent, right? It's the thing that's going to attract the kind of clients she dreams of working with.
Reframing it as an opportunity.
Yes. And similarly for James, the student, studying isn't just about memorizing facts for a test. It's actually about acquiring the knowledge and skills he'll need for his future career path.
So connecting it to the bigger picture.
Absolutely. A really helpful question to consistently ask yourself is, how does doing this specific task actually contribute to my larger goals? Just asking that simple question can inject even seemingly mundane work with a real sense of meaning and direction.
I like that. Connecting the dots between the now and the later makes it feel less pointless. But what happens when we still slip up, we try, but we procrastinate anyway? How should we react then?
That's a really, really important point, because beating ourselves up, being overly critical, it's completely counterproductive. It can actually dig the hole deeper.
It's a guilt spiral.
Exactly. Instead, we need to consciously foster self-compassion, acknowledge that, hey, delaying things sometimes, it's a normal part of being human. We all do it.
Okay.
And crucially, maintain faith in your ability to change. You're not permanently broken because you procrastinated. So if you find you've put something off, try saying to yourself something gentle, like, okay, I'm learning to manage my time better, and I'm just going to take one small step forward right now.
Just one step.
Just one step. That kind of understanding self-talk helps lessen the guilt and shame, and it builds the resilience you need to keep trying, to keep moving forward.
So be kind to yourself, but keep that forward momentum, even if it's tiny. What other mindset tweaks can help?
Visualization is another really powerful technique. Spend just a few minutes each day, maybe when you wake up or before you start work, vividly imagining yourself successfully completing a task.
Like seeing it happen in your mind.
Yes, and really focus on the feelings of accomplishment and satisfaction that come with it. Picture yourself hitting send on that report, getting positive feedback, or finally reaching that long-term goal.
So for James, maybe picturing himself actually feeling confident and acing that exam.
Exactly. That kind of mental rehearsal can significantly boost your motivation, and it can lessen some of the anxiety that might be tied to the task itself.
It's like creating a mental preview of success.
I love that.
And finally, how can we change how we fundamentally see ourselves in relation to this whole procrastination thing?
This is absolutely vital. You need to begin consciously adopting a growth-oriented identity.
Okay, what does that look like?
Instead of labeling yourself with, I'm a procrastinator, which is quite a fixed label, try shifting that self-perception to something more like, I'm someone who is learning to start small and build momentum.
Focusing on the action and the learning.
Precisely. It seems like a subtle change, but this shift in how you view yourself actually reinforces positive action. Every small step you take, every time you do start, it strengthens this new, more proactive self-image. You start believing you are that person.
These mindset shifts sound incredibly valuable.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's get down to brass tacks. What are some really concrete, practical strategies we can start using, like today, to break free from this cycle?
Right. So with that more action-oriented mindset hopefully starting to take root, we can now bring in some very practical techniques. These are designed to really dismantle the habit of procrastination piece by piece.
Good. Let's hear them.
And they're designed to be pretty easy to weave into your daily routine to really encourage that sustained progress.
Okay, first up, I see breaking tasks down. How small are we talking here? Like, how granular should we get?
The key is to make those first steps feel almost ridiculously easy, almost laughable.
Okay.
Large tasks feel overwhelming, right? So the aim is to divide them into the smallest, most manageable micro steps you can possibly imagine.
Give me an example, like a work presentation.
Okay, presentation. Instead of the massive thought, create the entire presentation, break it down. Step 1, just open the software and create a title slide. That's it. 5 minutes, maybe.
Okay, doable.
Step 2, jot down maybe just 3 main bullet points you want to cover. Not flesh them out, just the points, maybe 10 minutes.
Right.
Step 3, draft the content for 1 single slide, maybe 15 minutes. See, this chunking approach makes actually getting started feel much, much less intimidating.
Yeah, it lowers the barrier to entry significantly.
It does. For Sarah, our designer, instead of build my portfolio, the huge goal, her very first micro step could literally be open the folder with my best projects and choose just one I feel good about.
Just choose one.
Just choose one. These tiny wins, they have a wonderful way of building momentum and turning into real, significant progress over time.
I really like that micro step idea. It totally removes that feeling of facing Mount Everest. What's the next practical tip you've got?
The 2-minute rule. This one is remarkably effective for its simplicity.
Okay, 2 minutes. Tell me more.
The principle is dead simple.
Yeah.
If a task pops into your head and you estimate it will take less than 2 minutes to complete, just do it right then and there. Don't even put it on a list.
Like answering a quick email or putting a dish in the dishwasher.
Exactly. Quick things. Now, for those larger tasks, the ones you're avoiding, the commitment is slightly different. Commit to working on it for just 2 minutes.
Just 2 minutes. What can you get done in 2 minutes?
Sometimes not much, but that's not the point. If you're facing a mountain of emails, okay, open your inbox, pick one, and just start drafting a reply for 2 minutes. Often, simply starting the task, even for that tiny duration, generates enough momentum to keep you going longer.
It's about overcoming the inertia, getting the ball rolling.
Precisely. This rule really trains the habit of acting promptly and bypassing all that overthinking and dread that often comes before starting.
That sounds like a fantastic way to just begin. Okay, what about when we actually need to concentrate for, longer stretches? 2 minutes won't cut it for studying for an exam.
Right. That's where something like the Pomodoro technique comes in really handy.
The Pomodoro, I've heard of that. Remind me how it works.
The basic idea is you work in focused, timed intervals. Traditionally, it's 25 minutes of focused work on one task, followed by a short, say, 5-minute break.
Okay, 25 on, 5 off.
Exactly. This method helps break down daunting tasks into manageable chunks of time. It makes work feel less like it's going to stretch on forever.
So James, our student, could use this for his study sessions.
Absolutely. He could break his study time into these 25-minute focused intervals. Then, during the 5-minute break, he could grab a snack, stretch, listen to a quick song, whatever helps him recharge briefly.
And then back for another 25 minutes.
Yep. You just set a timer, dedicate that 25 minutes solely to the task at hand, no multitasking, no distractions, and then take your brief respite. Repeat the cycle. Over time, these focused intervals really add up and help build concentration stamina.
Short bursts of focused effort. Makes sense. What other tangible tools can we use?
Creating a why list. This can be surprisingly powerful, especially when motivation dips.
A why list, explain that.
Often, our drive to work on something fades because we lose sight of why we wanted to do it in the first place. Our underlying purpose gets buried under the task itself.
Right, you forget the big picture.
Exactly. So for those tasks you tend to avoid, actually sit down and write out a list of all the reasons why completing this task is important to you. Why do you really want to accomplish it?
So for Sarah's portfolio.
Right. Her why list might include things like, to showcase my unique creative style, or to attract those dream clients I really want to collaborate with, maybe to build genuine confidence in my professional skills.
Okay.
And then the key is to keep this list somewhere visible, maybe taped to your monitor as your phone's lock screen, whatever works, so you can easily reconnect with your purpose when you feel like giving up.
That's a brilliant way to keep the motivation front and center, especially when you're feeling stuck in the weeds of the task itself.
It really helps link your immediate actions back to your deeper values and aspirations. Very useful for mindset-focused individuals.
Okay, good tip. Now, what about, the enemy of focus? Distractions. They seem to be everywhere.
Yes, distractions. They are a major roadblock to productivity and a key gateway to procrastination, aren't they?
Definitely. Phone buzzing, emails pinging, clutter.
The strategy here is pretty straightforward, but requires conscious effort. Actively identify your personal main distraction triggers. What consistently pulls you away? Is it social media notifications? A messy desk? frequent interruptions from colleagues or family.
Figure out what they are first.
Yes. And then take deliberate steps to minimize them. This might mean using website blocking apps or browser extensions during focused work periods.
Like freedom or cold turkey.
Exactly, those kinds of tools. It might mean tidying your workspace at the end of each day so you start fresh. Establishing a dedicated workspace, if possible, can also signal to your brain, okay, this is focus time.
Right, setting up the environment for success. So for James,
this might mean making a commitment to study in a quiet section of the library, leaving his phone on silent, maybe even in his bag, to avoid that constant lure of notifications and endless scrolling.
creating a distraction-free zone makes perfect sense. Any other quick actionable strategies we can deploy?
Absolutely. The if-then strategy is a great one for proactively dealing with potential roadblocks before they even happen.
If then, how does that work?
It involves anticipating those moments or triggers when you're most likely to be tempted to procrastinate, and then creating a specific, pre-planned response.
Okay, like planning for temptation.
Kind of. For example, you might say to yourself, if I feel the urge to turn on the TV instead of working on my report after dinner, then I will set a timer for just 25 minutes and work only on the introduction section.
So you have a pre-made decision. Reduces willpower needed in the moment.
Exactly. This kind of pre-planning helps you navigate those moments of weakness more effectively and reinforces your commitment to your goals. It automates the response.
Smart. And anything else?
Yes, and this one's important, but often overlooked. Don't forget to reward your progress.
Reward ourselves. Like with cookies.
Well, maybe sometimes. But actually complete a task, or even a significant chunk of a task. Give yourself a small, healthy treat or break, something you enjoy.
Okay, like what?
It could be making a nice cup of tea, taking a short walk outside, listening to a favorite song, calling a friend for a quick chat. For Sarah, maybe finishing a key section of her portfolio earns her an evening to relax and watch a movie guilt-free.
Creating positive associations with getting things done.
Precisely. Building those positive associations with taking action can make starting future tasks feel much less effortful over time. It reinforces the behavior you want.
These practical strategies are genuinely excellent. Really concrete stuff. Now, let's maybe dig a bit deeper again. Are there more advanced mindset techniques we can use for perhaps more profound or lasting change, especially for those really focused on personal growth?
Yes, absolutely. For those who are really invested in understanding their mindset and achieving deeper personal growth, there are definitely more profound psychological tools we can explore. These can help address the underlying roots of procrastination and lead to more enduring transformation.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell us about reframing failure. That seems like a big one for many people.
It really is. As we touched on, fear of failure is a massive driver of procrastination for so many. The crucial shift here is to actively, consciously reframe failure. Stop seeing it as some kind of negative final judgment on your worth or abilities.
And see it as
valuable feedback, as data, as simply an essential stepping stone on the path to learning and growth.
Okay, so less I failed and more, this approach didn't work, what can I learn?
Exactly. If Sarah, our designer, gets some constructive criticism on an early draft of a portfolio piece, instead of feeling totally discouraged and maybe putting the project aside.
Which is easy to do.
Very easy. Instead, she can analyze the feedback objectively. Okay, what specific points are valid here? How can I use this information to make the design stronger? This perspective transforms setbacks from roadblocks into learning opportunities, and that significantly reduces the urge to avoid starting in the first place because the stakes feel lower.
That resonates really strongly. It definitely takes the emotional sting out of making mistakes or not getting it right first time.
Right.
What about those, those negative thoughts, that inner critic that tells us we're not capable or we'll never finish?
The inner critic. That's where practicing something called cognitive restructuring comes in. It sounds a bit technical, but it's really about challenging and changing those unhelpful, self-sabotaging thought patterns that fuel procrastination.
How do we do that?
Well, first you have to notice them. Catch yourself when you're having those thoughts. Like if you catch yourself thinking, oh, I'll never be able to finish this huge project, it's impossible.
Okay, I've definitely had thoughts like that.
Most of us have. The next step is to consciously challenge that thought. Is it really true you'll never finish? Probably not. Then replace it with a more balanced, action-oriented, and realistic one. Something like, okay, this project feels big, but I can definitely take one small step forward today. Or I've handled large projects before, I can break this down.
So actively arguing with a negative thought.
In a way, yes. A helpful exercise is to actually write down those negative thoughts when they pop up. Then, deliberately write down evidence that contradicts them, maybe past successes you've had, and then write down the more realistic, reframed thought. Making this a regular practice helps, over time, to rewire your brain to think in a more positive and proactive way automatically.
It sounds like retraining our internal dialogue, which takes practice, I imagine.
It absolutely takes practice. It's a skill.
Okay. What about connecting with our future selves? You mentioned aspirations earlier.
Yes, the future self technique. This is a really powerful way to bridge that gap between our present self, who often wants comfort and ease now, and our long-term goals and well-being.
How does it work?
Procrastination often involves prioritizing that immediate gratification watching TV now over what's best for our future self, right?
Makes sense.
So to counteract this, try to vividly connect with the person you aspire to become in the future. Maybe picture yourself in 1 year, or 5 years, or 10 years from now. Who do you want to be? What have you achieved?
So for James the student, maybe envisioning himself as a confident graduate starting his dream job.
Exactly. Really flesh out that image. What does it feel like? What is he doing? Then, in the present moment, when faced with a choice, study or procrastinate, ask yourself, what would my future successful self advise me to do right now? What action would they take today?
Tapping into that future wisdom.
Precisely. This exercise helps to make those long-term aspirations feel more real and immediate, which can make taking the necessary action in the present feel much more compelling and meaningful.
That's a really insightful way to frame choices. Okay, what about dealing with those uncomfortable feelings? The boredom, the anxiety, the frustration that often trigger the urge to procrastinate in the first place.
That's where mindfulness can be incredibly helpful. As we said, procrastination is frequently driven by a desire to avoid those unpleasant feelings.
Right, we just want the feeling to go away.
Exactly. Mindfulness, which is essentially about paying attention to the present moment non-judgmentally, allows you to just observe these feelings as they arise without immediately reacting to them by, say, opening a new browser tab.
So not getting swept away by the feeling.
Right. You acknowledge it's there. Okay, I'm feeling anxious about starting this, but you don't automatically have to act on the urge to escape it. Even brief mindfulness exercises, maybe just 5 minutes of sitting quietly, focusing on your breath, and just noticing the thoughts and feelings coming and going without getting caught up in them.
Just observing.
Just observing. This can help create a little bit of space between the feeling and your reaction. It reduces the power of the urge to avoid the task, calming those underlying emotional triggers.
So learning to sit with the discomfort for a moment instead of instantly running from it, that sounds like a superpower.
I can feel like one with practice.
And finally, in this deeper dive, how can we tap into a more sustainable, long-lasting source of motivation? Beyond just rewards or avoiding punishment.
Great question. While external rewards have their place, especially initially, the real key to long-term, sustained effort lies in cultivating intrinsic motivation.
Intrinsic meaning from within.
Exactly. Finding genuine interest, enjoyment, or satisfaction within the task itself, rather than just focusing on the outcome or external reward.
How do we find that, especially for tasks that seem boring?
It requires a bit of reflection. Take some time to think about what aspects of a particular task, even a challenging one, genuinely pique your curiosity or align with your values or skills.
Okay.
For Sarah, maybe it's not the whole portfolio task, but the actual creative process of designing each individual piece that excites her intrinsic creativity.
Right, focusing on the part she enjoys.
Yes. For James, maybe it's not the studying itself, but the feeling of mastery and empowerment that comes from finally understanding a really complex subject. That aha moment.
The satisfaction of learning.
Exactly. By consciously focusing on these internal rewards, the learning, the creativity, the problem solving, the sense of competence, and the satisfaction that comes from the process itself, you can cultivate a much more sustainable, self-generating drive to stay engaged and push through the difficult parts, naturally reducing the pull of procrastination.
These are some truly profound techniques, really gets to the heart of it. Now, thinking practically again, procrastination doesn't look the same everywhere, does it? It probably shows up differently in our careers versus our personal lives. Are there specific approaches that tend to work better in certain areas?
That's a great point. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Procrastination isn't a one-size-fits-all problem. It definitely manifests differently depending on the context. So yeah, let's explore some tailored strategies for key areas, maybe work, education, personal growth, relationships, health, and even creative projects.
Okay, let's start with our professional lives. Procrastination at work, big problem for many. how can we tackle it there?
Yeah, in the workplace, procrastination can really stall career growth, delay important projects, cause stress for the whole team.
All right, think of, let's call him Alex, a marketing manager. Maybe he keeps putting off pitching a new campaign idea because he's afraid the boss won't like it. Fear of rejection.
Classic scenario. So some helpful strategies there. First, establish really clear, specific deadlines, not just for the final pitch, but for each stage of the project. Break that big pitch down. Research phase deadline, outline deadline, draft deadline, practice deadline.
Makes it less overwhelming.
Definitely. Another tip. Seek early feedback on your initial ideas or a rough draft from a trusted colleague or mentor. Getting input early can really lessen that paralyzing fear of perfectionism and give you confidence to move forward.
Good idea, like a reality check.
Exactly. And visualization, like we talked about. Alex could spend a few minutes visualizing the positive impact of successfully pitching the campaign, maybe imagining the campaign's success, the positive feedback, how it boosts his standing. That can be a powerful motivator.
Connecting to the positive outcome.
Yes. And don't forget that why list for work tasks, too. Remind yourself why this pitch matters for your career growth, for the team's success, for serving clients better. This pitch is my chance to show leadership. Things like that.
That makes perfect sense for the career context. Okay, what about students? We talked about James' procrastination seems almost epidemic in education sometimes.
It really does. Students like James often struggle massively with putting off studying or starting big assignments or papers.
So what works well there?
Well, study groups can be surprisingly effective. The social accountability, the chance to discuss ideas, it can make learning feel less isolating and more engaging.
Right, studying together.
Also shifting from passive rereading, which is often not very effective, to active learning methods. Things like active recall, testing yourself constantly, using flashcards, trying to explain concepts out loud without looking at notes. Much more effective for retention.
Making your brain work harder.
Exactly. Scheduling short, regular review sessions throughout the semester, rather than waiting for the night before the exam, is crucial for avoiding that last-minute cramming panic. Even 15-20 minutes a few times a week makes a huge difference.
Spaced repetition.
Precisely. And again, reframing. Help students see studying not just as a chore or an obligation to pass a test, but as a valuable process of building skills, knowledge, and critical thinking that will genuinely benefit their future lives and careers.
Okay, good tips for students. What about those personal goals we set for ourselves, like I want to learn guitar or I want to get fit? Those often get pushed aside.
Oh yeah, personal growth goals are prime candidates for procrastination. Let's think of Emma. She bought a guitar, she really wants to learn, but it's gathering dust in the corner because she keeps delaying practice.
Happens all the time.
A great approach here is to start incredibly small. Almost absurdly small. Maybe Emma commits to just picking up the guitar and practicing one chord for 5 minutes each day. Just 5 minutes.
Builds the habit without the overwhelm.
Exactly. Consistency over quantity, especially at the start. Tracking progress is also motivating. Using a simple journal or habit tracker app to see the days stack up can make the progress feel real.
Visual proof of effort.
Yes. And joining a class, finding a practice buddy, or joining an online community of fellow learners provides that valuable accountability and support. Makes it harder to quit.
Social connection helps.
Definitely. And finally, connecting the practice to your identity. Instead of just thinking, I'm learning guitar, try framing it as, I am becoming a musician. That shift can be surprisingly powerful in keeping you inspired and motivated.
I like that identity shift. Okay, what about our relationships? Can procrastination affect those too?
Oh, absolutely. It certainly can strain connections. Maybe it's putting off having a difficult but necessary conversation, or neglecting to plan quality time together because it feels like effort.
Right. Let's say Liam needs to talk to his partner about a recurring conflict, but he keeps avoiding it because it feels awkward or he fears an argument.
Common scenario. For Liam, maybe just outlining a few key, calm points he wants to make beforehand can help him feel more prepared and less likely to just blurt things out emotionally.
Reduces the anxiety a bit.
Right. And crucially, setting a specific time soon, like we'll talk about this tomorrow evening after dinner, prevents that endless I'll do it later delay. Make a commitment.
Put it in the calendar.
Basically, yes. And focusing on the potential positive outcome can help too. Liam could visualize having the conversation constructively and ending up feeling closer and more understood by his partner afterward.
Aiming for connection, not conflict.
Exactly. And reframing these sometimes tough conversations or effortful planning, not as chores, but as essential investments in building trust, understanding, and intimacy in the relationship.
That's a much better way to look at it. Okay, health goals. Exercise, healthy eating, huge areas for procrastination.
Massive. Let's think of Priya. She knows she should exercise more, she wants to feel healthier, but actually starting that new routine keeps getting pushed to tomorrow.
The eternal tomorrow.
For Priya, again, the key is often starting ridiculously small. Forget the hour-long gym session for now. Maybe start with micro workouts, just 5 minutes of stretching when she wakes up, or a 10-minute walk at lunchtime.
Making it super easy to say yes to.
Exactly. Planning ahead helps remove friction, too. Laying out workout clothes the night before, packing a healthy lunch in advance. Small things that make the healthy choice the easy choice.
Reducing decision fatigue.
Yes. And visualization, again, Priya could visualize how much more energy she'll have, how much better she'll sleep, how much stronger she'll feel when she's exercising regularly. Connect it to the feeling she wants.
Focus on the benefits.
And link those daily health actions to your long-term vision for well-being. Remind yourself, doing this walk isn't just a walk, it's me actively building a stronger, healthier body for the future.
Good connection. And lastly, what about creative pursuits? Writing, painting, music, often plagued by procrastination.
Oh, hugely. Creative projects are often stalled by that old enemy, perfectionism, or fear of judgment, or just the sheer daunting nature of a blank page or canvas.
Right. Mia dreams of writing a novel, has the idea, but just stares at the blank screen, frozen.
Very common for writers. For Mia, techniques like free writing can be amazing. Set a timer for just 10 minutes and write continuously without stopping, without judging, without editing. Just get words down. It bypasses the inner critic.
Just let it flow.
Yes. Also, shift focus away from outcome goals, like write a perfect chapter, to process goals. For Mia, maybe the goal is just write 500 words today, regardless of quality, or spend 30 minutes outlining. Focus on the doing, not the perfecting.
It's the pressure off.
It really does. And sharing work in progress, even rough bits, with a trusted friend or a writing group can provide encouragement and make it feel less isolating.
There's some feedback and support.
Exactly. And again, reframing. See the creative task not primarily as something to be judged or achieve success with, but as an act of self-expression, exploration, or play. Connect with the joy of the process itself.
It's remarkable how tailoring these strategies really makes them feel more relevant and doable for different parts of life.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk tech. We often blame our devices for causing procrastination, but can technology actually be part of the solution?
That's a great question because yes, absolutely. When we use it intentionally and mindfully, technology can actually be a really valuable ally in our fight against procrastination. There are tons of tools out there designed to help.
Okay, so our phones don't have to be the enemy.
Not necessarily. It's all about how you use them. There are apps and software that can seriously enhance focus, improve organization, and even boost accountability.
Right. What are some of the main types of apps or tools that can help out here?
Well, task management apps are a big category. Things like Todoist, Trello, Asana. They're incredibly useful for breaking down those big, overwhelming projects into smaller, more manageable steps, just like we talked about.
So you can visually see the micro steps.
Exactly. You can assign deadlines, set reminders. For Sarah, our designer, she could have her whole portfolio project mapped out in Trello with columns for to do, doing, done for each piece. Seeing that visual progress can be really motivating.
Okay, task managers. What else?
Then you have focus-enhancing apps. These are designed specifically to minimize distractions. Some, like Freedom or Cold Turkey, can actually block distracting websites and apps, social media, news sites, games for set periods while you need to work.
So you literally can't access them, even if you try.
Pretty much. Others might play specific types of background music or ambient sounds, like Focus at Will, that are designed to help improve concentration. James, the student, could use one of these to create a digital cone of silence during his Pomodoro study sessions.
Those sound really useful for blocking out the noise. What else is in the digital toolkit?
Habit tracking apps can be great. Apps like Habitica or Streaks. They often use gamification points, streaks, levels to make building consistent routines feel more fun and rewarding.
Like turning habit building into a game.
Exactly. Emma could track her daily guitar practice in an app like that, maybe earning points for hitting a 7-day streak. It makes the progress feel really tangible and adds a bit of fun competition with yourself.
Okay.
Journaling apps like Day One or even Notion can be fantastic platforms for doing those reflective practices we discussed. Writing out your why lists, doing cognitive restructuring exercises, tracking your thoughts and feelings around procrastination. Alex could use a journaling app to work through his anxieties before that big marketing pitch.
Right. A space for that inner work.
And finally, don't underestimate simple Pomodoro timer apps or even just online timers. They make implementing that focused work break cycle super easy. No need for a fancy physical timer if you don't have one.
So, wow, there's actually quite a comprehensive digital toolkit available right on our devices. That's encouraging. Are there any important caveats, things to keep in mind when using tech this way?
That's a really crucial point to raise, because it's incredibly easy for the technology itself, even the helpful apps, to become yet another source of distraction if we're not careful.
Right, fiddling with the settings on your Focus app instead of working.
Exactly, or getting lost, tweaking your Trello board endlessly. So it's essential to set clear boundaries with the technology. Be intentional. Maybe silence all non-essential notifications when you're using a Focus app. Schedule specific tech-free times during your day, like first thing in the morning or before bed.
Don't let the tool become the distraction.
Precisely. Remember, the technology should be serving your goals and your focus, not hijacking them. Use it as a tool, not another escape route.
That's a really important reminder. Okay, you have shared so many valuable insights and strategies with us today. This has been incredibly helpful. Are there any maybe quick interactive exercises or simple templates our listeners could use to really start putting these concepts into action themselves, like right after listening?
Yes, absolutely. Actively engaging with these ideas is really key to making them stick and creating real change. So here are a couple of simple exercises you could try. First one, conduct a quick procrastination audit.
A procrastination audit. Okay, what does that involve?
Just take a few moments, grab a piece of paper or open a note app. List maybe 2 or 3 tasks you know you've been consistently avoiding lately.
Okay, the thing's nagging at the back of your mind.
Exactly. Then, for each task, jot down briefly why you think you're delaying it. Just be honest with yourself. Is it fear, boredom, feeling overwhelmed, unclear where to start?
Getting clear on the why behind the delay.
Yes. Then, the crucial part. Identify just one tiny, manageable micro step you could take for each task to just get it started. Something you could do in, say, 5-10 minutes.
That ridiculously small first step again.
Right. And finally, for each task, articulate a clear why. What's your positive motivation for actually getting this done? What's the benefit? Then, the challenge is, pick one of those micro steps and aim to do it today, or even right after this deep dive. And just notice how it felt to take that step.
That sounds like a really great structured way to start building awareness and taking that first action. What's another exercise we could try?
Another really practical one is a distraction detox. Similar idea, but focused on the environment. First, identify your top, say, 2 or 3 biggest sources of digital or physical distraction during your typical workday or study time. What constantly pulls your attention?
Okay, maybe smartphone notifications, email pop-ups, a messy desk.
Could be any of those. Then, for just 1 week, commit to implementing one specific concrete change to minimize the impact of each of those top distractions.
Like what kind of change?
Okay, so maybe turn off all non-essential phone notifications completely during work hours, or only check email at specific times, say 11 a.m. and 4 p.m., and close the tab otherwise. Or commit to tidying your desk for 5 minutes before you finish work each day.
Simple, specific actions.
Yes. And then maybe keep a really brief daily log. Just note down, did you stick to the plan? How focused did you feel on a scale of 1-5? What challenges came up? It helps build awareness of what works and what gets in the way.
These are really actionable ways to get started immediately. Any other quick tools listeners might find useful?
2 more quick ideas. One is writing a future self letter. We talked about connecting with your future self. This makes it more concrete.
How did that work?
Imagine yourself, say, 5 years from now. You've successfully overcome the worst of your procrastination habits. You've achieved some important goals because of it. Write a short letter from that future self to your present self.
What would the letter say?
Express gratitude for starting to take action now. Describe maybe 1 or 2 specific accomplishments that became possible because your present self decided to break free from procrastination. Keep it positive and encouraging. Then, read this letter to yourself occasionally, maybe once a week, as a powerful reminder and motivator.
That sounds like a really inspiring exercise.
It can be. And finally, really flesh out that why list we mentioned with a simple worksheet. For a specific task you're currently avoiding, don't just list one reason why, really brainstorm. List at least 5 distinct, compelling reasons why completing that task truly matters to your bigger goals, your values, your well-being. Keep that list visible when you're working on the task. It anchors you to your purpose.
Fantastic. These are all really great hands-on tools. Thank you for sharing those. Wow. We have covered a tremendous amount of ground today, from the psychology behind procrastination to practical strategies, advanced techniques, tailored approaches, tech tools, and even exercises. This has been incredibly insightful. As we wrap up, what's maybe one key message, one core idea you'd really like our listeners to take away with them from this whole discussion?
That's a good question. I think perhaps the most vital thing to remember really is that overcoming procrastination isn't about finding some magic bullet or overnight fix. It's truly a process. It's a journey.
A journey, okay.
Yeah, a journey that involves both making those conscious, intentional mindset shifts we talked about and consistently taking those small, sometimes imperfect, but definite steps forward. And crucially, believing that you absolutely do have the capacity within you to gain control in this area and change this pattern. It's learnable.
That's a really hopeful and empowering thought. Yeah, it's not a fixed trait. It's a pattern we can change with effort. Okay, and building on that, what's one very small, concrete action our listeners could take, maybe right after they finish listening to this, to start that journey?
Okay, here's a challenge. Think of just one task, maybe one you identified during that procrastination audit idea that you've been putting off. Just one. Now, identify a single tiny micro step related to that task, something you could realistically do in the next 10 minutes.
10 minutes, right.
Set a timer for 10 minutes, minimize any obvious distractions around you right now, and then just do that one small action. Don't worry about the whole task, just do that one step. That single step taken now is your first commitment to building momentum and creating a more proactive future for yourself.
Fantastic. Take one micro step in the next 10 minutes. I love that. Well, remember everyone, as we've heard today, overcoming procrastination really is a journey of those mindset shifts and taking consistent small actions. You absolutely have the capacity to take control. If you found these insights valuable today and you want to explore more learning strategies and ways to boost your productivity and mindset, please do like this video. Share it with anyone else you think might benefit, and subscribe to the Learn English Lab YouTube channel for more deep dives like this one. Thanks for tuning in.